The research station floated in the darkness between Earth and its moon. It was called the Veiled Star, and it had been there for 30 years. The GoHFY built it when they first made contact with humanity. They said they wanted to study Earth. They said they wanted to learn about human culture and history. They said many things, and humans believed them because the GoHFY were kind and peaceful and had never lied before. Yuna had worked on the station for 3 years. She was a xenobiologist, which meant she studied alien life forms. But mostly she served as a bridge between humans and GoHFY. She helped them understand each other. She translated not just words, but ideas and feelings. The GoHFY trusted her, and she trusted them. That trust made it strange when they started acting differently around her. It began on a normal day. Yuna walked through the curved white hallways of the station toward the main research lab. She passed 2 GoHFY scientists in the corridor. Usually, they would stop and greet her. They would ask about her day or share some interesting fact they had discovered. The GoHFY loved sharing knowledge. It was their greatest joy, but these 2 did not stop. They saw her coming and quickly looked away. They walked past her without a word. Yuna turned to watch them go, confused. One of them glanced back at her with an expression she had never seen on a GoHFY face before. It looked like fear. Yuna shook her head and continued walking. Maybe they were just busy. Maybe they had received bad news from home. She decided not to worry about it. In the research lab, she found her colleague Taeho working at a large display screen. He was a geneticist, one of the best on Earth. The GoHFY had specifically requested him for their research team. He spent most of his time helping them understand human biology. Did something happen? Yuna asked him. The GoHFY seemed strange today. Taeho looked up from his work. He was a thin man with tired eyes. He spent too many hours in the lab and not enough hours sleeping. Strange how? Quiet, avoiding me. She sat down beside him. 2 of them practically ran away when they saw me. Taeho frowned. Now that you mention it, Paulith was asking some unusual questions this morning. Paulith was the head of the research station. He was very old, even by GoHFY standards. His 4 eyes had grown cloudy with age, but his mind remained sharp. He had dedicated his life to studying other species across the galaxy. The GoHFY said he had more knowledge in his head than most libraries held in their databases. What kind of questions? Yuna asked. Questions about human evolution. Where we came from. How we developed. Taeho turned back to his screen. He asked for genetic samples. I gave him what he wanted. Human DNA, Neanderthal DNA. Information about other hominid species. That does not sound unusual. They have been studying us for years. It was the way he asked. Taeho paused, trying to find the right words. He seemed nervous. And Paulith never seems nervous about anything. Yuna thought about this. She had known Paulith for 3 years. He was calm and gentle. He treated every new discovery with quiet joy. Nothing frightened him because he believed knowledge was always good. Understanding was always valuable. There was nothing to fear from truth. So why would he be nervous now? The answer came later that day. Paulith called a meeting with just the 2 of them, Yuna and Taeho. He asked them to come to his private research chamber. This was unusual. Paulith always worked in the main lab where everyone could see and share. His private chamber was small and cluttered with artifacts from 100 worlds. Bones and fossils sat on shelves next to ancient tools and faded photographs. Paulith stood in the center of the room, his 4 eyes moving between his human visitors. Thank you for coming, he said. His voice was softer than usual. I have questions that I did not want to ask in front of others. Yuna and Taeho exchanged a glance. We will help if we can, Yuna said. Paulith moved to a display screen on the wall. He pressed a button and an image appeared. It showed a timeline of Earth's history, focusing on the last 1,000,000 years. There were branches and lines showing different species that had existed. Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis, Homo neanderthalensis, Homo floresiensis, Homo naledi, and finally, at the end of one branch, Homo sapiens. I have been studying your evolutionary history, Paulus said. It is fascinating. Your world produced many intelligent species over time, many different types of humans. That is correct, Tejo said. We evolved alongside our cousins. Some of them were very similar to us. Neanderthals, for example, were intelligent. They made tools. They created art. They buried their dead. Yes, Paulus' voice grew even quieter. I noticed that your species carries their DNA, and Denisovan DNA as well. This means you lived together. You had children together. We did. Modern humans carry about 2 to 4% Neanderthal genetics. Paulus nodded slowly. His 4 eyes blinked one at a time, which Una knew was a sign of deep thought. Then I must ask a question that has been troubling me. He turned to face them directly. Where did they go? The question hung in the air. Una felt something cold settle in her stomach, though she did not understand why. They died out, Tejo said simply. About 40,000 years ago. Climate change, competition for resources, disease. We do not know exactly what happened. But you survived, Paulus said. You survived and they did not. All of them. Every single cousin species. Gone. Only Homo sapiens remains. Tejo shifted uncomfortably. Evolution is harsh. Not every species makes it. Paulus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. In 4,000 years of studying life across the galaxy, I have never seen this pattern before. Never. When multiple intelligent species evolve on the same world, they find ways to coexist. They share the planet. They grow together. His 4 eyes locked onto them. They do not vanish completely while one species takes everything. Una felt the cold in her stomach spread through her whole body. What are you saying? She asked, but Paulus did not answer. He simply stared at them with an expression she had never seen on his ancient face. It was the same expression she had seen in the corridor. It was fear. Una could not sleep that night. She lay in her small room on the station and stared at the ceiling. The stars outside her window moved slowly as the station orbited the moon. Somewhere below, Earth glowed blue and green and white. Her home. The only home her species had ever known. She kept thinking about Paulus' question. Where did they go? It seemed like a simple question with a simple answer. They died. Species die all the time. It was natural. It was normal. But something about the way he asked it would not leave her mind. The next morning, she went looking for answers. She found them in the restricted section of the station, in a place she was not supposed to go. The doors were not locked because the Corvani did not believe in secrets. They thought all knowledge should be shared freely. But this area was marked as private research. Una had never entered it before. She entered it now. Inside, she found Hana. Hana was another human scientist, younger than Una, with bright eyes and a quick mind. She had only been on the station for 1 year, but the Corvani already respected her work. She specialized in comparing species across different worlds. Hana was standing in front of a massive display. The display showed data from hundreds of planets. Each planet had lines and branches showing how life had evolved there. Species were marked with colors. Green for those that still existed. Red for those that had gone extinct. Blue for intelligent species. You should not be here, Hana said without turning around. She had heard Una enter. Neither should you. Hana finally looked at her. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking slightly. I heard them talking last night. The Corvani. They did not know I was listening. I had to see what they were looking at. And what are they looking at? Hannah pointed at the display. Everything. Every planet they have ever studied. Every species that has ever evolved. 4,000 intelligent species across 200 worlds. Una stepped closer to look. The data was overwhelming. So many worlds. So many forms of life. The galaxy was full of creatures she had never imagined. Look at this one, Hannah said. She pointed to a planet called Corvan Prime, the Corvani homeworld. The display showed 3 intelligent species that had evolved there over millions of years. All 3 were marked in green. All 3 still existed. They share their planet with 2 other sentient species. They have for hundreds of thousands of years. I did not know that. Most humans do not. Hannah moved to another planet. This one had 5 intelligent species. All green. Then another with 2. Both green. Then another with 7. All green. In every case, Hannah said slowly, when multiple intelligent species evolve on the same world, they find balance. They might compete at first. They might fight. But eventually, they learn to share. One takes the forests. Another takes the plains. Another takes the oceans. They grow alongside each other. Una felt that cold feeling returning. What about Earth? Hannah pressed a button. Earth appeared on the display. The branches showed 9 intelligent hominid species that had existed over the last 2 million years. 8 of them were marked in red, extinct. Only one was green. Homo sapiens. We are the only planet they have ever found with this pattern, Hannah whispered. The only one. On every other world, intelligent species survive together. On Earth, only one remains. Una stared at the red lines. Each one represented a species. Beings that had walked and talked and thought. Beings that had looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. Beings that were gone now. Maybe Earth is different, Una said. Maybe our planet had harsher conditions. Less room. Fewer resources. That is what I hoped. Hannah pulled up more data. So I looked at the evidence. I looked at where we lived and where they lived. Do you know what I found? Una did not answer. She was not sure she wanted to know. Every time Homo sapiens expanded into a new territory, the other species disappeared. Not slowly. Not over thousands of years. Fast. Within a few generations. Wherever we went, they vanished. That could be coincidence. Correlation does not mean causation. I thought so too. Then I looked at the Neanderthal genetic data. Hannah's voice cracked slightly. We did not just live alongside them. We absorbed them. We took their DNA into ourselves. We did the same with the Denisovans. And probably others we have not identified yet. The display showed a diagram. It showed how modern human DNA contained pieces from multiple extinct species, like puzzle pieces fitted together from different boxes. The Corvani have a word for this, Hannah said. Genetic consumption. It is when one species takes the useful traits from another and incorporates them. It usually happens with simple organisms, bacteria, viruses, never with intelligent beings. Until us. Una sat down heavily in a chair. Her legs felt weak. You were saying we did not just outlast them. We consumed them, absorbed them, took what was useful and discarded the rest. Hannah turned to face her fully. The Corvani are terrified, Una. They have studied 4,000 species. None of them did what we did. None of them could. We are something they have never encountered before. Something they are afraid of. Yes. They sat in silence for a long time. Outside the window, Earth continued its slow spin. Billions of humans lived down there, working and laughing and loving. building cities and raising children, living their lives without any idea what their ancestors had done, or what they were capable of doing again. What will the Kavani do? Una finally asked. Hannah shook her head. I do not know, but I heard them mention the Galactic Council. They are preparing a report. They want to share what they found with every species in the known galaxy. Una felt her heart stop. They want to tell everyone what humanity is, Hannah continued. What we really are. And then they want the council to decide what to do about us. The display screen glowed softly in the dim room. All those worlds, all those species, all those beings who had learned to share and cooperate and live together in peace. And then there was Earth, the planet that produced only one survivor, the planet that produced humanity. Una looked at her own hands. Normal hands. Human hands. Hands that carried the genetic memory of beings who no longer existed. Beings who had trusted her ancestors. Beings who had lived and loved and dreamed. Beings who were gone now. Where did they go? Now she knew the answer, and she wished she did not. The Galactic Council met in a vast chamber that floated in empty space, far from any star or planet. It was neutral ground. No species owned it. No species controlled it. Here, beings from across the galaxy gathered to discuss matters that affected them all. Soong had been a diplomat for 20 years. He had represented humanity in dozens of meetings. He had negotiated trade agreements and peace treaties. He had helped his species take their place among the stars. He was proud of that work. He believed humanity deserved to stand alongside the other great civilizations. But today, he was not standing. He was sitting in a small chair in the center of the chamber, surrounded by hundreds of alien faces, and he felt very small. The Kavani had presented their report. It had taken 3 hours. They showed the data, the charts, the genetic evidence. They explained what they had found on Earth. They described a pattern that existed nowhere else in the known galaxy. And then they asked the question that everyone was thinking. What do we do about humanity? Soong listened as species after species spoke. Some were curious. Some were concerned. Many were afraid. A delegate from the marsh world spoke first. They were tall beings, covered in wet scales that glistened under the chamber lights. We must consider the evidence carefully, they said. Earth is young. Humanity is young. Perhaps this pattern will change as they mature. Mature into what? Asked a delegate from the Singing Mountains. They had no physical form, only a cloud of particles that vibrated with each word. They have already spread across their solar system. They are already building colonies on other worlds. How long before they run out of room again? A delegate from the Iron Rings slammed a metal appendage on their platform. They were machine beings, cold and logical. The mathematics are clear. Expansion rate multiplied by resource consumption divided by time. Within 500 years, humanity will need more space. Within 1,000, much more. What happens to the species in their path? We cannot judge them for what they might do. Another voice called out. Only for what they have done. What they have done is enough, the Singing Mountains delegate replied. 9 intelligent species on one world. 8 destroyed. The evidence speaks for itself. Soong felt the words like physical blows. He wanted to defend his people. He wanted to explain that humanity was not evil. They were not monsters. They were just trying to survive, like everyone else. But the evidence was hard to argue against. The Kovani elder, Paulus, rose to speak. The chamber fell silent. His voice was quiet but carried to every corner of the room. I have studied life for 4,000 years, he said. I have seen species rise and fall. I have seen conflicts and reconciliations. I have seen the best and worst that intelligent beings can do. And in all that time, I have never encountered anything like humanity. He paused, his 4 eyes scanning the chamber. They are not cruel. That would be simple. Cruelty can be understood. It can be predicted. It can be contained. But humanity is something different. They do not destroy because they hate. They destroy because they need. Because they grow. Because they cannot stop themselves from filling every space, using every resource, becoming everything their environment allows them to become. A murmur ran through the chamber. On their world, they did not just eliminate their competitors. They absorbed them. They took their genes, their strengths, their abilities, and then they moved on. They did not even remember doing it. To them, it was simply life, simply survival, simply being human. Polith turned to look directly at Soom. I do not believe humanity is evil, but I believe they are dangerous in a way we have never faced before. They are not a threat because they choose to be. They are a threat because they cannot help what they are. The chamber erupted in discussion. Voices overlapped. Languages mixed. The translation system struggled to keep up. Sung closed his eyes. He thought about Earth. He thought about his family there, his children, his grandchildren. He thought about the cities and the farms and the forests. He thought about everything humanity had built and created and dreamed. And he thought about the others. The Neanderthals and Denisovans and all the rest. The ones who had lived and loved and dreamed too. The ones who were gone now, existing only as fragments in human blood. Had his ancestors known what they were doing? Had they chosen to destroy, or had it simply happened? Did intent matter when the result was the same? The debate continued for hours. Some species called for restrictions on human expansion. Others demanded monitoring, constant surveillance to watch for dangerous behavior. A few extreme voices called for quarantine. Lock humanity in their solar system. Build barriers around them. Keep them contained before they spread. We cannot imprison an entire species for crimes they do not remember committing, someone argued. We can protect ourselves from a threat we know exists, came the reply. Sung finally stood. The chamber slowly quieted. All eyes turned to him. You fear us, he said. His voice was steady, though his heart was racing. I understand why. The evidence is disturbing. Our history is disturbing. I will not pretend otherwise. He took a breath, but I ask you to consider something. Humanity did what it did without guidance, without knowledge of the wider galaxy, without any understanding that there was another way. We evolved in isolation, competing for survival on a harsh world. We did not know that cooperation was possible because we had no one to show us. He looked around the chamber. Now we do. Now we are part of something larger. We have seen that species can share worlds. We have learned that competition is not the only way. Perhaps knowing this will change us. Perhaps being part of the galactic community will help us become something better than what our past suggests. The chamber was silent. Or perhaps it will not, Sung admitted. Perhaps you are right to fear us. Perhaps we are exactly what your data says we are. I cannot prove otherwise. I can only ask for the chance to try. He sat back down. The debate continued long into the night cycle. No decision was reached. The council would reconvene in 3 days to vote on humanity's future. Sung returned to his quarters alone. He stood by the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was everything he loved. And somewhere, in his blood, carried forward through countless generations, were the ghosts of species that had trusted his ancestors. Species that were gone now. He wondered if the galaxy would make the same mistake. Yuna could not stop working. While the council debated humanity's fate, she buried herself in research. She spent every waking hour in the lab, studying the same data the Corvani had presented. She was looking for something. She was not sure what. Maybe a mistake. Maybe an error that would prove humanity was not what they seemed to be. Instead, she found something worse done. It was late at night on the station. Tejo had fallen asleep at his desk, exhausted from days of work. Hana was there too, reviewing genetic sequences on her tablet. The three of them had barely left the lab since the council meeting began. "I found something," Yuna said quietly. Hana looked up. "Good news or bad news? I do not know yet." She pulled up a display showing human DNA. It was a familiar image. Every child on Earth learned about the double helix in school, but this display was different. This one showed the parts that came from other species. "We already know about the Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA," Yuna said. "About 2 to 4% of modern humans carry Neanderthal genes. Some populations have up to 6% Denisovan genes. This has been known for decades." "Yes," Hana said. "What is new?" "I looked deeper. I looked at what those genes do. Not just where they are, but what they provide." Yuna zoomed in on specific sequences. "The Neanderthal genes we carry are not random. They are the useful ones. Genes that help with immune function. Genes that help process certain foods. Genes that help survive in cold climates." Tejo stirred awake. "We know this. It is called adaptive introgression. We kept the genes that helped us survive." "Exactly. We kept what was useful." Yuna paused. "But I found something else. Something not in the public databases." She pulled up a new image. This one showed a comparison between human DNA and something else. Something that had no label. "This is genetic material found in certain human populations. It does not match Neanderthals. It does not match Denisovans. It does not match any species in our records. But it is clearly from another hominid. Another intelligent cousin we have not identified yet." Hana stood up slowly. "A ghost species. Maybe more than one. The markers suggest at least 3 unknown sources of introgression. 3 species we absorbed so completely that we did not even know they existed until we started looking at our own DNA." Tejo was fully awake now. "How is that possible? Surely there would be fossil evidence, archaeological remains, something." "There's nothing. They left no trace, no bones, no tools, no art, just fragments of their genetic code living inside us." The lab was very quiet. Outside the windows, Earth continued its eternal rotation, unaware of the conversation happening in its shadow. "Do you understand what this means?" Yuna asked. "We did not just outlast our competitors. We did not just outcompete them for resources. We absorbed them so thoroughly that we erased them from history. They exist only because we exist. We are their only monument, their only legacy." Hana sat back down. Her hands were trembling. "The Kovani said we consumed them. I thought that was an exaggeration. It was not. We took everything useful they had. Their genes, their adaptations, their survival tools. And then they were gone. Not killed necessarily, just merged, blended, dissolved into us until there was nothing left." "That is worse," Hana whispered. "That is so much worse, is it?" Yuna asked. She was surprised to hear herself say it. "Think about it differently. Those species are not truly dead. They live on, in us. Every human walking on Earth today carries the genetic memory of beings who lived hundreds of thousands of years ago. We did not erase them. We became them." Tejo shook his head. "That is a comfortable way to look at extinction. Maybe, or maybe it is the truth." Yuna stared at the genetic display. "The Kovani are afraid because they see humanity as destroyers, eliminators, a species that cannot tolerate rivals. But what if that is not what happened? What if we did not destroy our cousins? What if we loved them, merged with them, became something new together? That is a nice story," Hana said. "But it does not change the outcome. They are gone and we remain. They remain too. In us. Every time a human is born, pieces of Neanderthal and Denisovan and those unknown species are born too. They are not dead. They are part of humanity. We carry them forward. The three humans sat in silence, each processing what this meant. Finally, Tejo spoke. Even if what you say is true, it does not help us with the council. They are afraid of what we might do to them. Telling them we absorb other species instead of just killing them is not going to make them feel better. No, Yuna agreed. But it might give us a different argument. The Kovani see us as a threat because we eliminate our competitors. But what if we do not eliminate them? What if we become them? What if the end result of contact with humanity is not extinction but transformation? Hannah laughed bitterly. You want to tell the galaxy that humanity's gift is merging with other species, making them part of us? How is that different from conquest? Because the result is not destruction. The result is continuation. The result is a new species that carries forward everything the old ones were. Yuna stood up and walked to the window. The Neanderthals are not gone. They live in the blood of billions of humans. Their story did not end 40,000 years ago. It continues every day, in every child born, in every generation that follows. Do you really believe that? Tejo asked. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. She looked at her hands again. The same hands she had looked at days ago when this nightmare began. They looked different to her now, not just human hands. Something more. Something older. Something carrying the weight of countless generations of beings who had walked the earth before her. I do not know what I believe, she finally said. But I know that the story the Kovani are telling is incomplete. They see only death. They do not see what comes after. They do not see that humanity is not one species. We are many. We are all of them. Every cousin. Every competitor. Every being who ever loved a Homo sapiens enough to have a child together. She turned to face her colleagues. We did not destroy them. We became their legacy. And maybe that is what the galaxy needs to understand. The three of them looked at each other in the dim light of the lab. Outside, the stars wheeled slowly past. The council would vote soon. Humanity's future hung in the balance. But for the first time since this began, Yuna felt something other than fear. She felt hope. The council chamber was full. Every species in the known galaxy had sent representatives. They filled the vast space with 1,000 different forms of life. Beings of flesh and metal and light. Creatures that breathed air and others that breathed methane. Minds housed in bodies and minds housed in machines. The diversity of intelligent life was on full display, and all of them were waiting to decide. Humanity's fate. Song stood at the center of the chamber. Behind him sat Yuna, Hannah, Tejo, and other human representatives. They had worked through the night preparing for this moment. They had argued and debated and practiced. And now there was nothing left to do but speak. The Kovani elder Polith called the chamber to order. His ancient voice echoed through the space. We have gathered to vote on the future of humanity's place in the galactic community. Before we proceed, the human delegation has requested the opportunity to address the council one final time. He turned to Soong. You may speak. Soong walked forward. He felt the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. Not just living humans, but all those who had come before. All those whose blood ran in his veins. He carried them with him as he faced the galaxy. I stand before you not to deny what humanity has done, he began. I stand here to explain what humanity is. The chamber was silent. You have seen the evidence. You know that Earth once held many intelligent species. You know that only one remains. You have concluded that humanity destroyed its competitors, that we eliminated them through violence or competition or some combination of both. And you fear that we will do the same to you. He paused. But you have only seen part of the story. Let me show you the rest. He activated a display. It showed the same genetic data Una had discovered. The human genome, marked with the contributions from other species. This is humanity, Sung said. Look at it. Really look. We are not one species. We never were. We are an amalgamation, a blend, a merger of every intelligent being that ever lived on our world. He pointed to specific sequences. Neanderthal DNA. It gives us stronger immune systems, better adaptation to cold climates, enhanced cognitive abilities in certain areas. We did not steal these traits. We inherited them. Through love, through families, through children born to parents of different species who chose to build lives together. He moved to another sequence. Denisovan DNA. It helps certain human populations survive at high altitudes. It allows us to process different foods. It gave us advantages that helped us spread across our world. Again, not through conquest, through merger, through becoming one. He stepped back from the display. You ask where the other species went. I am standing here to tell you. They did not go anywhere. They are standing right in front of you. Every human you have ever met carries the blood of Neanderthals and Denisovans and species we have not even named yet. We did not destroy them. We became them. And they became us. The chamber began to murmur. Delegates whispered to each other in 100 different languages. You fear what we might do to you, Sung continued. That is understandable. Our history is frightening when seen through certain eyes. But I ask you to see it differently. I ask you to see what our history really shows. He spread his hands wide. Humanity does not eliminate. Humanity integrates. We do not destroy what we encounter. We absorb it. We make it part of ourselves. We carry it forward into the future. Every species that has ever merged with humanity continues to exist. Not as fossils, not as memories, as living genetic code passed down through generations. He took a step forward. Is this not what all life does? Is this not what evolution means? Species change. Species merge. Species become something new. The Kolvani have 3 intelligent species on their homeworld because those species found a way to coexist separately. Humanity found a different way. We coexist together, inside the same bodies, inside the same blood. Polith raised a hand. You speak of the past. We are concerned about the future. What happens when humanity meets new species? What happens when you encounter us? Sung nodded. That is a fair question, and I will give you an honest answer. I do not know. I cannot promise that humanity will not compete with other species. I cannot promise that we will not change the galaxy by our presence. But I can tell you what we offer. He turned to face the full assembly. We offer inclusion. We offer continuation. When humanity encounters something new, we do not destroy it. We embrace it. We learn from it. We make it part of ourselves. This has always been our way. Our languages borrow words from every culture we encounter. Our foods blend traditions from every people we meet. Our art and music and stories mix together until something new emerges. He pointed at the display again. Look at what we are. We are proof that different species can become one. We are living evidence that intelligent beings can merge without either being destroyed. The Neanderthals are not gone. They live every time a human child is born. Their story continues because our story continues. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. You fear that humanity will do to you what we did to our cousins. But what we did to our cousins was make them immortal. They will exist as long as humanity exists. Their genes, their adaptations, their legacy, all of it, carried forward forever. The chamber was very quiet now. I cannot tell you what the future holds. But I can tell you this. If humanity continues on its path, if we keep doing what we have always done, then one day there may be beings in this galaxy who carry Corvani blood alongside human blood. Beings who carry the best traits of every species we encounter. Beings who are not human or Corvani or anything else, but something new. Something that carries all of us forward together. He looked directly at Polith. Is that not unity? Is that not the ultimate form of cooperation? Not living side by side, but living together. Inside the same bodies. Inside the same futures. Inside the same children. Polith was silent for a long moment. His 4 eyes studied Soong with an expression that was hard to read. You offer a different kind of threat than we imagined, he finally said. Not destruction, transformation, not death. Merger. Yes. And you believe this is better? Soong thought carefully. I believe it is different. I believe it is what humanity is. I cannot promise it is better. But I can promise that everything we merge with continues. Nothing is lost. Nothing is forgotten. Everything becomes part of what humanity will be. The debate lasted for hours more. Species questioned and challenged and pushed back. But something had shifted. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Curiosity, wonder, and maybe, just maybe, hope. When the vote finally came, it was close. But the quarantine motion failed. Humanity would remain part of the galactic community. They would be watched. They would be monitored. But they would not be imprisoned. Afterward, Una found Polith in the corridor. The old Corvani looked tired but thoughtful. You gave us much to consider, he said. I hope we gave you the truth. Polith made a sound that might have been a laugh. Truth is complicated. You have shown us that what we thought was destruction might have been transformation. What we thought was ending might have been beginning. I'm not sure which is more frightening. Una nodded. Neither am I. Polith started to walk away, then stopped. One thing troubles me still. What is that? You speak of merger, of becoming one. But in every case, it is humanity that continues. Humanity that absorbs. Humanity that remains the core while others become additions. His 4 eyes found hers. What happens when you encounter something stronger than yourselves? Will you merge with it? Or will you become the ones who are absorbed? Una had no answer. The old Corvani nodded, as if this silence confirmed something. We will watch, he said. We will hope. And we will prepare. Because we still do not know what humanity truly is. We only know that the galaxy will never be the same now that you are part of it. He walked away, leaving Una alone with the weight of his words. She looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were species humanity had not yet met. Worlds they had not yet visited. Futures they had not yet imagined. And somewhere inside her, carried in her blood, were the ghosts of beings who had once looked at those same stars with wonder. They were still looking, through her eyes. Forever.